Good morning. I hope you've had a good week. Out and about with the hound as usual. I might be a little bit dark for the first part of this because the sun is behind me, so apologies. Hopefully the audio is a little bit better despite the wind. So this week I just want to talk about decision making, and in particular making big decisions. So the ones that you might have a tendency to labour on or put off perhaps. First of all, just touch upon decision making in general. This is something that I find really, really interesting. Never really given it much thought until I started getting into it from a healthcare perspective. So, how do we think about the decisions we make in a sort of clinical context? So, making decisions about what we think might be going on with patients that we're seeing, and how we make decisions about what tests we need to do, if any, and then how we make decisions about what treatments we need to do. And really it all comes down to the lack of absolutes. So you're never going to find an option that's completely devoid of risk. So that was a big realisation for me when I did my clinical appraisal work as part of my final exams before becoming a consultant, was that actually the reality of the situation is that there's never no risk. And that's often what people are looking for, certainty. I think the human brain is really comfortable with absolutes. So it's either always or never, it's either 100% or 0%, it's either black or white, but in reality that's actually never the case. So step number one for me really was just becoming a bit more comfortable with the fact that there is always going to be an element of risk involved in whatever decision you make. The second thing I'll say is there's been a lot of detailed research done on decision making in the past from many more clever people than me. So there's the very well known book Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow, where they talk about, I think that's the one where they talk about system 1 and system 2 thinking. So essentially your system 1 thinking, oh there we go, I'm a bit brighter now. Your system 1 thinking is your kind of fast, intuitive, reflexive decision making, and your system 2 is your slow, more cognitive, kind of cognitive process. I think I might have mentioned this before. It falls into the thing I talk about quite a lot when it comes to balance. So actually you're looking for a ratio of that. You can't make quick and reflexive decisions about everything, and you can't make slow and really deliberate decisions about everything either. So you need to kind of find the appropriate time for each and find the right balance between each as well. So moving on to making big decisions about things. So I've had some things that I needed to mull over the past couple of months, and had to sort of think about making a fairly big and important decision. And I was just thinking over and talking through, I guess, out loud, the steps that you go through when you're making such a big decision. So we're talking about the kind of thing that's not necessarily got a very stringent time cap on it. So I don't need to decide by the end of today whether it's yes or no or something somewhere in between. But over the next little while, I need to make a firm decision about. And I think the first thing to say is really consider putting some kind of time cap on it. So when I was thinking about the decision I had to make, really it came down to, right, when am I going to make this decision by? You don't necessarily have to take firm action on it immediately, but you can say, right, by this time I will have made my decision. Because again, we're back to absolutes. It's really, really difficult to be able to go definitively, I am 100% happy with this decision. And if you're going to be waiting to be 100% happy with your decision, then you may never make any decision. Essentially, there's always going to be an element of, oh well, there's a couple of things I'm not overly comfortable with. So yeah, we're not necessarily aiming for 100% certainty. We're just aiming for whatever threshold you need to cross to get to that point to push you on to take some action. So yeah, I think also having some self-awareness to know that you need to think about something in a bit more detail. So is there something in your life that just really feels like you're just butting heads against it constantly? Do you need to change something? That might be a situation where you need to think about making a decision. And then it comes down to, right, I know what the thing is that I need to think about changing or making a decision about. So how do I decide what the best way forward is? And that's really where it comes down to kind of common sense approach of, right, what are the options that are available to me, and it's likely that you'll have at least a couple of options in your mind. You know, they'll at the very least be yes or no, but there will also be other ones that you haven't considered as of yet, and this is where I found getting coached quite helpful. And actually just speaking to other people close to you as well about what you're thinking about, and really what I did was by proxy really just invited them to, you know, look, this is kind of what I'm thinking, these are the potential options, I'm just trying to see if I can pick as many holes in these as humanly possible. You know, the benefits are immediately coming to mind, but I'm just aware that there might be downsides or consequences that I haven't considered yet. And I like to think about this in a coaching context as well. So really it's a bit like, I love a visual analogy, so bear with me. It's a bit like, you know, you go into a pitch black house and you're trying to make your way from room to room. You know where you want to get to, but you're not sure how to get there. And all you've got in your hand is a torch that shines a beam straight ahead. And you have to kind of move that torchlight around, otherwise you're not going to see. So really all you can see is what you're shining your torchlight at. So it's a bit like that with thinking about things. There's a whole array of stuff that you haven't brought into mind, and really by getting other perspectives on it, you're just adding other torch beams into the room as well. And that's also what I think the coach does. What I aim to do as a coach is that you aim to take your torch and shine it into other corners of the room, just to get the person or yourself to think about things that they just have not considered at all. So I really approached it as here's an idea that I've had, can you help me pick some holes in it? And that was what I'd spent a good few weeks doing, essentially. And then you've got the full array of options open to you, so then you can decide. And again, you're not necessarily looking for 100% certainty. I just don't really think that exists. You're looking for something that feels right. And this is where, to some extent, you have to trust your intuition. So, you know, assuming you just haven't steamrolled ahead and made a really instinctive, reflexive decision without considering any of the consequences, if you've spent a little bit of time carefully considering what your options are and you've settled upon something that seems right, then, you know, the next question you've got to ask yourself is the getting things done approach of what's my next action step? You know, how am I going to move this forward? And you haven't necessarily committed yourself to anything fully. It's not to say that, oh well, I've decided that now, I just need to crack on. You can then be like, okay, I set off in this direction, but actually that doesn't look like it's working out, or that doesn't feel quite right now, so I can adjust. So really what you're looking for is to bring yourself from start to finish, from being quite conflicted and unsure to being as sure as you can be, and feeling like in your gut, you know, in that gut brain, that you feel that you've got the right way forward, that you're happy with, and that you know that you've got the ability to problem solve and fix things on the go as well, and have a bit of faith in yourself. So the things I've been telling myself recently is, you know, stop doubting yourself, be a bit bolder, make bold decisions, and trust that you can react and adapt to whatever happens, essentially. So let me know if you've got any big decisions on the horizon. You can post below, or on any of the social platforms. You don't obviously need to tell me what it is if it's particularly sensitive, but let me know what you think of that walk through making a big decision, and catch you all later.